Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Foe. I feel like this is going to be harder than usual. Only because most of the time I know what I'm going to be talking about. And I just feel for this one, even though I've planned it out, like I kind of wrote down notes on what I want to talk about, I don't necessarily feel like I know exactly what I want to talk about. I merely have lines written down, with certain subjects, but I don't really have a specific thing. I guess we'll figure it out. I have to, what's the word? Extempore, which means just improvising, kind of. It's like another word for improvise, but it's more of just out of nowhere. It's coming out of your brain. It's without any forethought. And that's kind of what I want to talk about today is the visual spatio drawing, I guess you could say the drawing pad in our brain that lets us visualize something as abstract to a lot of us that is time. And you may think, well, time's not that abstract, right? We all know it. We count it. We live it. It's there every day. But honestly, in a way, it is kind of abstract. I feel like we all don't truly understand what it is. I mean, to a sense. I mean, I don't even know what it is, really. You hear so many different things that it's like the fourth dimensions, this, that. It's something that we created to measure things, so it's not really a real thing. And with all the science that we've gone through, like we've studied and explored, as of right now, yeah, it is kind of something we just kind of made up, something to measure entropy in a way. But anyways, the game that I have in the background for today is Hidden Through Time. It's a pretty cool sorry for the clicking noise. It's a pretty cool hidden, what do they call them? It's like an I Spy game where you're looking for little items. I used to have a giant big old book called like the Big Book of Look and Look Again, and I love these kind of games. So like growing up, I would just love to buy those books. I would always ask my parents to buy me these books. And so like this game kind of solves that for me. You can actually make your own maps. It's really cool. There's a bunch of different assets you can use to build pretty cool maps, and you type up your own little things and stuff like that. Another similar game that I think if you really like this kind of stuff is Hidden Folks. That one's the first one I played before this one. This one's a little bit more watered down than Hidden Folks. Hidden Folks is like done like super well. This one's done very well too, but it's just more creator friendly rather than focused on giving you a great experience in general. So I would definitely go check out Hidden Folks as well. But anyways, on to the topic. So the reason I started thinking about this was because the other day? I thought I actually wrote up this topic about 2 months ago in January, but I'm barely deciding to record this. But better late than never, right? So I had to, like, when I was going to sleep one night, I was thinking about time travel and like how I don't believe it's possible. Of course, I don't have the tools and the experiments to really say that with evincing fact. I can't just be like, yeah, it's obvious that time travel isn't real. But from what we know right now, I was just like, this just doesn't make sense. But if it was possible, how would it work? And I also thought about like the fact that if you're reversing the instance of what you're in, like say the universe you're in, you would have to have a device to reverse entropy, which is like the movement, the what's the word? The disorder that happens after time, like after things use up energy, it just starts, breaking down more and more and more. You would have to reverse all of that in a specific ordered manner to a specific point, the way everything was. And, would it just be a device that would just do that to the planet? Or would it be a device that encompasses the entire universe? How big would that device have to be? You see it in movies and stuff like that. Of course, they're movies and TV shows and other forms of media. But when you think about it, how could you pack so much of that energy, like a device capable of reversing so much energy in such a little thing? I just think it would require a massive object in order to reverse all of entropy. And it'd be so dangerous, because you're literally putting things back together again and taking things apart. Because not only are you bringing things back that once were in a certain pieces, but you're taking apart things that already are. You know what I mean? Like, it's, in a way, it's kind of scary. You're literally destroying things in order to recreate things that were the way they were before. And honestly, this wasn't on my list, but now just thinking about it, it kind of makes you think about people who are obsessed with the past. And I do have this kind of later down in my notes, but it just occurred to me now, like, you know, like we're just like, sometimes you're listening to music, you're like, oh, if only people still made music like they did back in the day, but they don't. It is what it is now, you know. Time's passed, you know, those things are in the past, and we have the present now. And in a way, you know, thinking that way, you know, being like, oh, I wish I had the old days, I wish I had the old things, is a little selfish. It's a little, well, to me, it just seems like, in a way, you do, like, people who are really obsessed with that past, with wanting to go back to something that used to be a certain way. It's almost like wanting to destroy everything around you in order to put it a specific way you want. And it goes back to, like, the whole expectations thing. You have expectations of what you want, and it's something almost impossible. I mean, it is impossible. You can't bring back what is already gone. You know, life moves on, entropy ensues. And I will talk more about that later. I just consider that right now. It's very interesting. But anyways, so yeah, entropy. What is time? We talked about that, so I'm gonna move on to the next category. I actually surprisingly talked about it without even looking at what the next thing was. So I want to talk about a chemical, a neurotransmitter that I learned about. I've been really into neuroscience. Of course, I'm not going to be studying neuroscience. It's more of just a side thing that I was just very interested in. The human brain is fascinating to me. You know, of course, we all have one. And I'd like to know more about how it works so that, you know, I can control my own brain to some extent, and I can help others, you know, if they have any questions. Especially if I'm going to be a teacher, I can, you know, like, if kids learn this information early on, they can study more at their own, you know, leisure in the future. I wish I knew about this a lot, you know, earlier. But anyways, so the chemical I want to talk about is GABA. So GABA stands for gamma aminobutyric acid. Sorry, I had to look it up really quick. So this chemical, from what I've studied and what I've heard from, you know, from different sources, I've looked at some papers, some scientific papers that have talked about tests they've done and discoveries they've had. And I've also listened to Andrew Huberman, who does a lot of experiments with he's a neuroscientist himself, and he has a lot of great stuff on neuroscience that I definitely recommend checking out his YouTube channel. He has so much knowledge to give out there to, you know, for free to people who just are willing to sit down and listen to his lectures in a way. So yeah, GABA is a chemical that pretty much helps you, what's the word? Helps you kind of settle down a little bit. Like, it's that, if you ever have those moments where you start daydreaming and you start thinking about things in the future or things in the past, you start looking around time, but in your own head. You know, I always say that we're always little mini time travelers, because we're always, like, in our own heads, going to different places, different times, even different futures or different realities. We're able to create stories and crazy stuff. And I do want to do a separate I do want to do a separate video on stories, because I feel like that's a huge thing. It's very important to us as human beings as well. But I want to just mention how this chemical GABA is kind of the reason why we are, like, you know, one of the main reasons why we are so such intelligent creatures. We have such a higher influx of GABA compared to most other creatures. Hence why we're always, like, freaking out about things that are not coming yet. You know, we have anxiety and stress about things that are not even real, but it's so important to us. We need to, you know, we need to have that, you know, we need to prepare for a lion attack before we even know the lion is there, and that's why we get scared of things. It's very important. So we need to, you know, we need to have that thinking, like, oh, you ever have your mother or anybody, like, worried, and they're just like, don't go out there, this might happen, this might happen, this might happen. It's like, oh geez, over here predicting the future. Well, that is what that does. It allows you to kind of in a way calm down and think about different things, even though most of us kind of stress out while we're doing that. But I guess you can say GABA allows us to think about those kind of things, but then we have epinephrine or adrenaline also coming in and being like, oh, maybe it might actually happen, and then you just start freaking out. But yeah, GABA is just such an important chemical. I suggest you look more into it, but it's just something that I learned recently, and I thought it had something related to time travel, because we, like I said, we do it, and we time travel in our own brains. And that's actually something I do want to mention in the next subject, is that humans love to time travel. We love it. Like I said, we are mini time travelers. We are constantly thinking about what we can do next, what is going to benefit us, what is going to make us feel good. We think about the past and what we can learn from the past, and sometimes we just regret things that we did in the past, and sometimes it can depress us and make us think that everything else is futile, and we get conditioned in some way to be helpless. It can work both ways. That's why, just like anything else, it can always be a good thing or it can be a bad thing, and it's just learning how to balance it out and control it. And that's why I love doing this, learning about this kind of stuff and talking about it, because a lot of us out there are suffering. I used to be in the same boat. I still kind of do. The other day I was, delving back into the past, and I was just, ooh, and then I started delving into the future, and then being like, oh, well, what if this happens? And this happens? I'm just like, oh my god, I'm driving myself crazy here. You have to just bring yourself back to the present and just be like, you know what? None of that stuff is happening. What is happening is I'm alive right now, and I have stuff to do, and let's get it done. So that kind of goes to my next topic, which is grinds my gears. Yes, we're already at grinds my gears. This is not going to be a super long episode, but so grinds my gears. What grinds my gears? Well, just what I was talking about. We humans love to stress out about things, and I say it grinds my gears because I hate seeing other people do it. But honestly, I hate it when I do it. I hate when all of us do it. We stress about things that are not happening. They might happen as a possibility, but they're not happening. And it gets very frustrating when I hear other people do it. But it's, like I said, even more frustrating when I do it. And I don't try to beat myself up too much. I used to do that a lot before, but now I just try to quickly rope myself in and bring it in. And remember that, I just got to keep doing my best and focusing, keep my tunnel vision, I guess, in a way. Occasionally looking off left to right if I need to, but more or less focusing on what the main prize is, the main goal. And just like I'm recording this video, I try to do that with my other projects, using the Pomodoro technique, which I don't know if you guys have heard of. I think it's pretty popular. It's pretty much sitting down and focusing for about 30 minutes, or like 10 to 30 minutes, and just getting work done. And you can change that up to your own time. I use this technique a lot because it helps me just be like, okay, just keep going, just get it done, just like right now, even though I'm losing my words and not knowing what to say, I'm just like, you're still in this, keep going, you're gonna finish this video, you're gonna finish this topic, you need to record this so you can keep yourself accountable and consistent with these videos, keep getting them out. Just like that. That's kind of why I love the Pomodoro technique. Then you take a break, and this actually has to do with the next topic. We're just rolling right along, they're just coming out naturally. The next topic I want to talk about is circadian rhythm and ultradian rhythms. I'm sure most people have heard of circadian rhythm. There have been a couple people I talked to that have never heard of it. And if you haven't heard of it, the circadian rhythm just pretty much means your rhythm, the rhythm you go through while you're awake. Okay, so you ever wake up and you just feel super energized, and then there's days you wake up and you just feel totally exhausted. Sometimes it just means you haven't got enough sleep, but other times it just means that you didn't wake up in the right rhythm. And it sounds weird. I know it doesn't sound scientific, but trust me, there's tons of papers out there on it. There's tons of studies, and it kind of affects the same at the end point as well. So even when you're about to go to bed, sometimes you'll get flooded with melatonin, which is the chemical you produce to make you more drowsy. It kind of relaxes the body and lets you know, hey, you need to go to bed. I'm sure it does more than that too. and that's all controlled by the pituitary gland, which controls a lot of your hormonal functions. It also affects your internal clock, and almost all living things have this internal clock. I think all living things even have this internal clock. Even plants have this internal clock. So even if we were to be blasted off to some other place where the sun rose at a different time and set at a different time, or something changed, we'd still have these internal clocks that would control when we went to bed and when we woke. We can be lost in a cave. We can be stuck in a cave and still have these internal clocks working. And like I said, even plants have it. You know, they go to bed too. And so this circadian rhythm is very important to know of, because if you follow your circadian rhythm, you're more likely to be more focused, more attentive, and just more productive. You know, you just kind of follow the rhythm of your body. When you're feeling tired, take a break. When you're, feeling up again, just get to work. Start focusing on something important. And that's where ultradian rhythms come into play, okay? So circadian rhythm is the overall, 24-hour, system that you have, pretty much your rhythm, your internal clock. Ultradian rhythms is pretty much the little pieces of that, like the hours, the minutes, and they kind of work in around 90 to 120 minutes. Everyone's different, and this is why, as somebody who is going to be a teacher soon, it really hurts me to know that our schools don't work around this, because it's so complicated. Humans are complicated, and since we're all so different, ultradian rhythms are, like I said, are going to be different in everybody. So when we have a class full of 30 kids, all 30 of those kids are going to be learning at different rates. One kid might be in the actual rhythm, another kid might not be. He might be in his rested state. Another kid will be in the middle of his, excited state, his learning state. And there's a lot to that. If you watch more of Andrew Huberman, he'll go into that. But anyways, back to what I'm saying is just time. Timing is very important when it comes to learning and processing information and resting. When you go to bed, you got to pick the right time so that your body can go through its ultradian cycles while you're asleep as well, because you have cycles while you're going to bed as well. They're around 90 to 120 minutes, and if you don't get enough of those, you don't have enough cleaning cycles, which fortunately they start pretty early in your resting time. So if you get around 5 hours of sleep, it's pretty good, but again, 8 to 9 hours of sleep is always great. 7 to 9 at least. But that's why it's timing is very important when it comes to sleep as well. Some days you're gonna wake up, like I said, you're gonna feel exhausted because maybe you just didn't time it right. Other days you're gonna feel boosted. You're gonna have so much energy. But this is all very important because it just, in the end, it's to help people find inner peace and ignore that inevitable feeling, that there's nothing you can do, that you can't control your body. People think most of your body is reflexive, that you can't change it. It just does it on its own. It's autonomous. But honestly, there's a lot more we can learn about our bodies than we give credit for. And I'm starting to understand that. And I'm starting to, I get so excited just learning more and more about the body. And I hope someday most people can as well. I'm hoping in the future that that becomes a main class in school, learning about how your body works, not just the sexual organs, because they do one class of that, but how everything works from your head to your toe, and not just the basic stuff that they teach in biology, because I feel like they barely touch on anything in biology. I'm talking about legit how to take care of your body. That's super important. That should be a definite important thing in class. And I think they throw it across all over the place in different subjects, so some kids never get to piece it together. And I think they should just have one class that kind of brings it all together. But anyways, guys, that's pretty much it for today. I don't really have much anymore to talk about. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll plan to do some more. Sorry if I was a little scatterbrained. I was just trying to get my thoughts out and just speak my mind. Alright guys, I'll catch you next time. Take care. Bye bye. Oh wait, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks. Bye.